Hello everyone and welcome to Sports Scene presented by Nathan Ackerman. I'm Eli Kleinmann, joined today by Christian John Bradley and Michael Fiumefreddo. Today is a huge day for the USC women's basketball team, which opens the Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas as the 10th seed against 7th seed UCLA. The Trojans have to win the conference tournament to get a spot in March Madness. Guys, can they pull off an unlikely run?
Unfortunately, Eli, I don't see it. For two main reasons. One, UCLA won the first two matchups, and two, they have the best player on the court. So in the first matchup, they won by 23, the next by 10, and then also they have Charisma Osborne, who will be the best player on the court. She dropped 27 in the last game as well, and so that would be too much for them to handle. But even in spite of that, USC did improve their play in the second game, improving their field goal percentage and three-point percentage. And so if the trend continues, I see it being a hard-fought matchup, which also creates the field for stars to shine. Unfortunately, UCLA has the best star.
Well, I'm not going to say the road ends just yet. I think they at least make it through tonight, and that's because they have the X factor. It's not Charisma Osborne. It's going to be Rhea Marshall. First team all freshman in the Pac-12. Really didn't play that great in the first two matchups against UCLA this season. In the second one, she actually put up 0 points. But since those games, she hasn't had one under 10 points. And 5 of her double-doubles this season have actually come in that time span. And head coach Lindsey Gottlieb threw in the starting 5 the past 3 games, and she has excelled. So let's do some math here. She doesn't score in a game where USC loses by 10 points. She hasn't scored under 10 points in that time frame. Guys, I think Rhea Marshall really comes out and helps USC get a dub tonight and a little bit of magic for March.
Well, you're talking about tonight's game. This team could win tonight's game, although I don't see it. But there's no chance this team makes a run. This is year 1 under Lindsey Gottlieb. Probably a disappointing year for what they hoped for coming into the season. It ends this weekend regardless of the result tonight. And they will be focused on next year and a promising future in that with Rhea Marshall coming back as a sophomore next year. Now, let's take a look at the Pac-12 tournament field. It starts today. It's actually already underway here in Las Vegas. As we take a look, the first round has already started at noon today. First round games today. Let's take a look and we will pick our bracket. First game today already underway. I like Colorado. Hollingshed is one of the best bigs in the Pac-12. Colorado got off to a really hot start, was 12-0 to begin the year. I like them to face Arizona in the second game today. Van Alhoffen, one of the best scorers in the Pac-12. She hurt USC with 17 fourth quarter points against the Trojans in Corvallis. They'll get the win, end of the road for the Sun Devils. I like UCLA, like I said, over USC. Charisma Osborne, just too talented, just too much there for the Bruins in a third edition of the Crosstown Showdown. And I like Utah, one of the best scoring teams in the conference. They shoot the 3, they run in transition. That's too much for Cal to handle despite having the best freshman in the conference in Jada Curry. Let's go to the top of the bracket, quarterfinals. I like Colorado. Hollingshed is one of those players that can make a difference. Arizona has struggled as of late. Potentially no Kate Reese for Arizona, their best scorer. I'm going to go with the Buffaloes. In the second game, Stanford, reigning national champions, too much. They're going to make it to the semifinal after their first round bye. I like the Ducks as well. Oregon, slow start to the season. They've turned it around. They're back in the top 25. They lost to Stanford by 4 earlier in the season. I think they're going to give the Cardinal some competition if they both make it to the title game. And I like Utah. Upset here over number 3 Washington State. Like I said, that offense is explosive. Yes, USC beat them a couple weekends ago, but there's enough talent there where I trust the Utes. Semifinals, Stanford, reigning national champions. We said it already, one of the best teams in the country. They have the talent. Cameron Brink, they have Haley Jones, they have Lexi and Lacey Hull. That's just too much for Colorado to handle. End of the ride in the Pac-12 tournament for the Buffs. And I like Oregon to advance. India Rogers, the transfer from USC, leads the way. They have Tahina Paopao along with her, along with Naira Sabali. A lot of talent on that Ducks team. Old school versus new school. I'm going to have to go with Stanford. I think Oregon will keep it close again, but the reigning national champions are a top 5 team in the country right now. I think they won't just win the Pac-12 tournament. I think they will win the NCAA tournament and repeat as champions. Things got ugly last night at Galen Center for USC men's basketball. The Trojan got crushed by number 2 ranked Arizona, 91-71. Here's Andy Enfield, Isaiah Mobley, and Drew Peterson after the loss.
Well, our three leading scorers started out 3 for 23 from the field. And you can't win like that. You're not going to beat anybody, let alone Arizona. They look like the second-ranked team in the country tonight. They really played well.
I mean, it's disappointing, but I mean, it's over now. So like, what can you do? We got UCLA, we got the Pac-12 tournament, then we got March Madness. So, I mean, we only lost 5 games, so just learn from it. I'd rather lose now than in either of those tournaments.
Some of these things can honestly help the season, especially going right into the biggest point of our year, really getting our head on straight and getting ready to go for Saturday. And obviously at UCLA, another huge game, and hopefully we can take that momentum then into the Pac-12 tourney and then March.
Now, guys, I know the list is long, but what went wrong for the Trojans last night, and what's your level of panic for USC heading into Saturday's crosstown showdown against UCLA?
Well, Andy Enfield really said it best. When your 3 best players are not scoring the ball, you're doomed for disaster. The 3 guys he's talking about, Drew Peterson, Boogie Ellis, Isaiah Mobley, 29 points combined. Like he said, started off 3 for 23 from the field. Not the best look for the Trojans, especially Isaiah Mobley didn't look like the defensive stud that he's been all year. Drew Peterson, who's been hot, had a little bit of a heat check, went 0 for 6 from the 3-point line. Boogie Ellis, I think we just got to accept the fact that he's not going to give you consistent play, and he's going to have these games where he's ice cold. But what we've seen and what I found interesting was that this is the first time all 3 of them have really been off. Usually Drew Peterson or Isaiah Mobley, or sometimes both of them really steps up in place of Boogie Ellis when he's having those games, but tonight it just wasn't that.
Michael, you make great points, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say they were just better. They were just flat out better in every aspect of the game, but this is all highlighted by the play of guard Benedict Mathurin. I mean, this dude, he's that dude, scoring 19 points, grabbing 5 rebounds, and dishing out 6 assists. And even on top of that, anytime that USC had showed any signs of life, he made a play that cut that off at the root. And so that all equal, they're just better.
My concern for USC, and the concern for me is high, it's the defense. They gave up 91 points to Arizona, and there was talk about the poor 3-point field goal defense for the Trojans, but the biggest concern for me is the 2-point field goal defense. USC is top in the country in that category. They give up 40% inside the arc, but against Arizona they gave up 60%. They gave up open dunks, open layups. Arizona tossed an alley-oop lob from half court against the 4th tallest team in the nation. That can't happen. The energy wasn't there. And if USC plays like they did on Saturday, UCLA will happily run them out of Pauley Pavilion.
Well, if you look at that,
you make great points, Eli. I mean, I'm not panicked because it doesn't change my outlook on the season at large, anyways. USC is ranked right now, the last time I checked, at 16, and that's where I see them going as far into the men's tournament at the Sweet 16. And so it doesn't change for me anything that any way I saw them before and after. They're 16th ranked team, and that's where they're in.
Well, I think it comes down to really who wants it more on Saturday night. This is for the 2nd seed in the Pac-12 tournament, and as we can see, you can really determine where you go through the bracket, but USC, are they going to be angry by this loss, or are they going to start to fold over, and really this could be the start of the downfall for this team going into March?
UCLA is 18-0 in their last 18 games at home with a home crowd. Their last loss came to USC in 2020. We'll see if the Trojans can do it again this year in 2022. The NFL Combine is underway in Indianapolis. USC has 4 players participating: Drake Jackson, Chris Steele, Isaac Taylor-Stewart, and Keontae Ingram-Michael. Who do you think can improve their draft stock the most with a good showing in Indy this week?
I actually think it's the guy that's not competing or running in any of the events, and that's Drake London, the star wide receiver, Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. He's dealt with the ankle injury since midway through last season, and I think if he were to do the 40, he wasn't going to. He'd actually diminish his draft stock at that point. The scouts know what they're getting out of Drake London. He's got the hands. He's probably the most physical receiver in the draft. He's got the size of a tight end. He's not really known for his speed, and when you say he's not running, that's really the only thing that's going to hurt him. So unless, the guys from Ohio State or Jamison Williams out of Alabama have historic combines and pro days, I don't see anyone's stock and opinion really changing on Drake London. However, I do think he should go to the combine, get measured, show off his intangibles, show that the scouts that he's really a 6'5", 210 wide receiver, and that could even improve his draft stock rather than him doing the gauntlet, all the stuff that every wide receiver is good at.
Yeah, I think it's Drake Jackson for sure, because although his pass rush grade improved 20 points, his draft stock decreased by 20 points, by 20 positions. In the beginning of this season, he was discussed as a top 15 pick potentially. Now he's in the mid-second round. So if he goes out and shows his freakish athleticism and his mentality and interviews well, he'll regain that position of it being in the top 20 or top 15 and securing the bag.
I like Keontae Ingram for the NFL Combine. He was an elusive back at USC. Really carried the offense once Drake London went out. I think he will be a player to watch. I think he can improve his draft stock, potentially sneak into the back half of the NFL draft, and I think he can make an impact with an NFL team this fall. The transfer from Texas in 1 year at USC was really a workhorse back for the Trojans and made all the difference for that offense that still even struggled with him last season.
Yeah, it should be a fun weekend. Ingram goes Friday, Drake Jackson on Saturday, and then you got the two DBs on Sunday. So good luck to the Trojans. Hopefully they can really put on a show, and I think they will.
And one final note on Drake London, he will compete at USC's Pro Day in 3 weeks. That's going to do it for Sports Scene today. Thanks everyone for tuning in. For Christian John Bradley and Michael Fiumefreddo, I'm Eli Kleinmann. Catch you next week.